So I just wanted to talk about my vegan journey and how veganism has changed my life. So I went vegetarian pretty young. I remember I went on a little holiday with some family friends, and one of the girls who was just a few years older than me, she was vegetarian, and I was like, what's that? Like really interested, and she just basically told me that, you know, the chicken that we eat is actually like a chicken, like beef is a cow, like all these really obvious things, but I just never had made the connection before. And I loved animals as a kid, as most kids do, but I also really wanted to be a vet. So I figured, how can I, you know, want to devote my life to helping these animals if I'm going to eat them? Like, it didn't make sense in my head. But so I really wanted to be vegetarian, but my dad wouldn't let me at first, so I would just be vegetarian, except he'd occasionally try and force me to eat meat, and I would just cry every time he tried to force me, and he would shout at me. We'd have a lot of fights, but then eventually he gave in. Because I think he thought that it was a phase, and when he realized it wasn't, and he couldn't really do anything about it anymore, because I was really passionate about it, and there was no chance that I was giving up. And then I actually remember saying to my friend only a few months before going vegan, I was like, I don't understand why anyone would go vegan, because if the animal is just producing that product and it's not causing any harm to them, why wouldn't we just take it? Like milk, I was like, cows produce milk all the time, so why wouldn't we have milk? And as a vegetarian, I actually didn't eat eggs unless they were in stuff, just because I hated them. And I also remember thinking, like, you know, when people crack open an egg and they're like, oh, there's like a chicken fetus in there, like that really grossed me out, and I didn't really consider them vegetarian, because I was like, you could be eating a baby chicken. I also never knew a vegan, like I had never met another vegan person, and so no one, and I didn't have an Instagram account, I didn't watch YouTube videos, so no person actually turned me vegan. Just one day, I don't even remember what I was looking at, but one day I was just Googling something, and I found out that cows didn't actually produce milk all the time, even if it was such a obvious thing, because they're a mammal, so they only produce milk when they're pregnant, just like all other mammals. When I found out this, I was like totally shocked, but I was also like angry at myself, because I was like, how did I think that? Yeah, so I went vegan straight away. Again, my dad didn't really support it for a while, but I was older, and I decided I would cook for myself, so there wasn't really as much he could do about it. And yeah, then I started to look into it more, to educate myself. So I watched documentaries, I researched it, and at first it was really hard, because people would say things and I didn't really know the answer. I didn't really have like an educated response. So the biggest thing that I can recommend is like, know your stuff, know the health aspects, the ethics, the environmental aspects, because when you know this stuff, you can become more confident in yourself and talking about it, and also it makes you more passionate. So I personally wasn't ever tempted, but if you're tempted to go back into old habits and to eat animal products, it really helps to know why you're doing this and to remind yourself why. And something people always say is, they're like, oh, isn't it really hard, like, oh, but cheese though, and stuff like that, or oh, but you don't get to have chocolate. And it's like, there actually is alternatives, vegan alternatives to everything, but I could live without all those things, and I actually don't have many of these like vegan junk foods and alternatives, because when you have a strong reasoning behind why you're doing something, you don't want to support it. Like, I never want to support those industries, and I wouldn't put my taste buds over my ethics and my beliefs and my values and over another living being's life. I think the biggest benefit for me since going vegan was living in line with my values and the beliefs that I already had. So I've always loved animals and never wanted to harm them, and always wanted to live a kind and compassionate life, but I never knew that my beliefs and values didn't line up with action, that my actions and the diet and lifestyle I was living a lifestyle where you cause as little harm to other living beings as possible, and aligning your beliefs and values with your actions is one of the best feelings in the world. So secondly, veganism gave me something to be passionate about. It's given me drive and a real sense of purpose. I also regained my health after years of problems with eating and body image issues. I learned how to eat again and how to love food. It also caused me to focus on my health a lot more and become the healthiest version of myself. As when I first went vegan, I always tried to make sure that I was getting enough of each nutrient and vitamin and all that. So I had a big focus on my diet, and I actually used to be iron deficient for years when I was vegetarian, but now that I'm vegan, despite the popular belief and stigma that comes with that, I'm actually not iron deficient anymore, and I don't take any supplements. I also have met so many amazing people. The vegan community is just amazing. I've made so many friends and been to so many events like picnics, and I even went to Thailand for a vegan event 2 years in a row. And if you're in Perth, I cannot recommend joining the Vegan Girls in Perth group on Facebook. So many amazing people there. Also, when I went vegan, I started to focus on my health a lot more and wanted to become as natural as possible. And watching Durian Rider's video inspired me to get off the pills straight away after being on it for 6 years. I also used to get really bad period pains, so I would be in bed for 2 or 3 days with cramps in my stomach, my back, and even I used to get really bad cramps up one leg, and I couldn't do anything for a few days. I'd feel really sick and nauseous, and I even sometimes would throw up. And when I went vegan, I now get most of the time no cramps at all, and if I do, they're really mild and will only be for an hour or two. My period is also really light, so much so that I often forget I even have it, and it would only last for like about 3 days. And although it took a while, I now have a lot clearer skin than I've ever had. And I thought it took a while because everything got messed up again when I went off the pill. I now have the clearest skin I've had in a really long time after suffering with acne since I was about 11. I also used to have really bad nails. They were really weak and would break all the time and peel. Now they're really strong and like grow really long. And finally, I also have really good recovery time. So after I work out, even if it's not an activity that I'm used to doing, like in the past, I would have been sore for a few days, and I used to get sore quite a lot. But now, even if it's a new activity or I haven't been doing that activity for a while, I hardly ever get sore. And even if I do, it would only last for like a day or something. So thank you for watching, and I cannot recommend going vegan enough. I never had any major health problems before I went vegan, so I don't have any big miracle stories like a lot of other people, but it still changed my life so much, and veganism is just everything. It has so many benefits. So go vegan!